Well, hey, party people, what's going on? It is Tuesday night, so you are back with the brothers from the 818. My name is Dave. As you know, I'm here with my ace in the hole, Caleb. What's going on, boy?
Hey, man. Party people in the house. I don't know, man. I'm gonna do it again, man. I'm gonna do it again because I did it last week, and I'm trying to create a trend.
Go for it.
91331. Just trying to represent. I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Man, I'm great. I haven't lived in the 91331 in a long time, but that's where we met, man. So the 818, 91331 for those of you who don't know is Pacoima, California. And that's where me and my man got down from the beginning. We met at McClay Junior High School in the computer lab playing Conan. A good old, I think it was like a half-bit graphics back then, man. I don't even remember, but on an Apple IIe or an Apple IIc or something like that. Remind me, we got to get in touch with Mr. Buck because Church's show got some good chicken. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mr. Buck was our favorite teacher, and he took us under his wing, and he taught us a lot about ourselves, and really made us appreciate education and the value of teachers, and we owe him a lot.
We do, and it's interesting because you hear all the time about teachers befriending students, and you hear about sometimes relationships go inappropriate. But Mr. Buck was just he's still around. He's a stand-up guy. He took time with us and made sure not only we was focused on our schoolwork, but little things like just talking about life and what it means to have a future and where we could possibly go. And we were just two kids from the inner city, and for us growing up, we didn't even realize really that that's what we were. That was just that was our fishbowl, that was our surroundings, and it just was what it was. But respect due to Mr. Buck. We're gonna get him on here one day, I swear.
I hope so. I'm excited about tonight because we have a different generation on tonight. We got some younger guests coming on and joining us.
We do. I got a mad level of appreciation for that younger generation as a whole. I think the more we can invest into them, we can see where they can really take us. The future, it isn't really with us. I mean, we're not done. We're definitely on the back nine of our careers and trying to do big things, but the change that we're looking for is going to come from that next generation. So I'm glad that, as the brothers from 818, we can have an outlet for this type of conversation and give a real platform for I always refer to them as youngsters. Ain't no disrespect, but refer to them as youngsters. For the youngsters to come up.
They're youngsters.
They're youngsters. Yeah, youngsters. So yeah, man. So tonight we have two guests. They are joining us literally from across the nation. We got one on the East Coast and we got one on the West Coast. So without further ado, we're going to bring on, I'm going to introduce them by their social media platform names. We got ImanAshanti and SmithManC. You guys out there? Can you hear us?
Yeah. Hey.
Hey.
We're in the house.
Welcome to the brothers from the 818. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Yeah, feeling good. Glad to be here. I'm glad we made it.
Yeah.
Excuse
the sniffles.
You got the sniffles?
Yeah, excuse the sniffles. Got hay fever. For the old folks that know what those are. That is.
You're going to need some, we call it, Caleb, cod liver oil and some.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been told to take some black castor.
Take some what?
I've been told to take a spoonful of black castor oil.
There you go.
Yeah. So
somebody to make you a hot toddy,
We're gonna see. I've tried a few of those already. They haven't worked, so we're gonna see.
All right. What about you, Christopher? How you doing, man?
I'm actually pretty good over here. God bless. I don't have hay fever, so I'm gonna stay on this coast over here and be safe. But I'm locked up over here in my room, and I guess I'm doing pretty good at it. So yeah, I don't have many complaints over here.
Hey, Caleb, don't he sound like he just all mellowed out and chilling? Like,
Yeah, man.
I ain't got to worry in the world.
You know, stay-at-home quarantine hit some people a little hard, but that's not me. It was made for this.
Well, that's what's up. Caleb, why don't you get the intros popping?
Yeah. ImanAshanti, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a food blogger / food influencer and a children's book author. So pretty much one of those people on Instagram who shows food a lot and then also shows what we do with our life, you know, one of those guys, but it tends to be kind of fun and will soon be, you know, financially beneficial. So working towards it.
And you're, where are you living?
I live in Atlanta, Georgia. Sorry. Live in Atlanta, Georgia. It's nice.
Repping Atlanta. How's the weather out there?
The weather is really, really rainy out here right now. Kind of nice, but kind of not at the same time. That's just Atlanta. It was actually pretty funny. It was very sunny today, and then all of a sudden it just started storming out of nowhere. So I ended up stuck in the rain, drenched without even knowing it was going to happen. So that's a normal day out here, it seems like, right now.
I've been to Atlanta a couple of times, and you know, I've always had a good time. I've been there in the summer. It's very humid. I've been in there in the winter, and it's snow on the ground. So I've been there. I'm guessing being out in the rain didn't help your hay fever.
Not at all. I'm pretty sure I'm suffering for that right now, but that's okay. It's not too bad. Like I said, it's something that I guess we have to be used to. It's supposed to be like this all week long, and it was like this last week too. Not too great for the food content pictures, but I've been working with it.
I'm sure you are.
Yeah, you need to focus on comfort food right now. Show some chili, you know, some stews. You know. I tell you, I gained 10 pounds just looking at your site, because some of that stuff be like, man, let me go ahead and try to make that. And
man, yeah, that's it. My followers definitely hate me sometimes, but it ends up being really cool because I have a lot of good conversations. You know, food is love. Everybody has to eat. You got to eat at least once or twice a day. So it's a good conversation starter and something you can always talk about. Yeah.
Some of us are eating more than our share, right?
Yeah. I encourage it too.
Welcome to the Brothers from the 818. What about you, Christopher? How you doing out there?
Yeah, so I'm doing good. I'm over in San Francisco right now. I guess my grand revelation, I just graduated college over at San Francisco State. So I'm kind of in that middle ground of riding on that euphoria before I need to go get a real job. So I'm enjoying that. It's good for me right about now. A little about me, I'm a game developer. It's pretty straightforward. I make video games and been doing it for a few years now. And, you know, I love it. I've got a little platform on Twitter, you know, where I share what I'm up to over there. And, you know, I've never really considered myself a content creator or an influencer just because I don't really think I'm out there targeting to any catered audience or anything, or trying to create, you know, a platform for them. But I've just been fortunate enough to find some people who like what I'm doing and have built a small community around that. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm working on games, about to get a better job, but I'm living. I'm happy.
Great.
Congratulations on your graduation. I know that's huge. I got a question for both of you in a second, but Christopher, your tagline, if that's what it's called, and just so you know, at least with me, and I'm sure with Caleb as well, you guys are both going to have to correct and educate us on a lot of terms when it comes to social media, but I'll get to that in a moment. Christopher, I believe your tagline says, "My name is Christopher and I make games."
Yeah. Like I said, I've never been, I'm not much of a content creator. I don't know what fancy tagline might bring in the most people. So I figured, you know, keep it simple, stupid, don't mess up.
I mean, it's straight to the point.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
So, you know, I'll be honest, I found a lot of love on Twitter. I've been through a whole lot of loops with how I use it. You know, I remember it was probably a year into my development before I even started posting anything. And initially it was just, it was a marketing strategy. It was, you know, I can't expect to sell these games someday if I'm over here developing in the dark. So, that's what first got me on there. And, I think it probably took me, half a year to reach my first 100 followers, but that it kicked up some euphoria and some type of feeling. I was like, oh yeah, we need more of those. So I started pushing. I started doing, I was scheduling my posts. I was doing a lot of research on how to grow my channel. And, things are going well. I was doing that for maybe a year or so when I got up to a better place. I have a couple thousand people behind me now, but it's a lot of work. I'm sure you know about that, Iman. It's hard work.
Oh my gosh.
And, I think where I'm at right now, I've been fortunate enough to meet some people through that community who, I can pull out some more specific friends out of the people, folks who I can ask advice from, about what to do next, and just, maybe a potential development partner someday. So.
Oh yeah. Twitter is great. Twitter is amazing. It's like the best social media platform that is out there to me, as far as getting stuff out there, getting engagements and stuff that social media is so crazy about right now and harass us about.
Yeah, so. A lot of it's still foreign to me. Honestly, I'm on Instagram, but I'm barely there. I'm learning about it. Didn't they just take down a lot of the social metrics off of Instagram?
Yes. Instagram is a whole different beast now. It's really a headache. So for example, I'll just say this. I put out a post on Instagram last week. It's a project that I've been working on for the past couple of weeks, actually. Pretty much with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, there were a lot of Black restaurants that came out, and people were just putting out tons of lists of it. And it was pretty confusing because you couldn't tell what area they were, especially in Atlanta, where I'm based in. And that's where about 60% of my actual followers are from. So I was like, okay, well, let me go ahead and create this list. I created the list. It took me about 3 weeks to go through 250 restaurants and put it onto a mapped out list. I put it out there, and Instagram, it went viral. It really did. So I got about 2 million engagements between Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest. It went viral completely. And I'm like, yeah, let me go ahead and work off of this. And then a couple days after, it's everything starts slowing down. It's oh no, you have to keep up the content. It doesn't matter, you can go viral one day, but if you don't keep up everything that you're doing, if you're not keeping your audience engaged, if you're not paying attention to what they need, if you're not looking up the right hashtags,
it's a full-time job itself.
It's a well-oiled machine that you have to keep on running, or else it'll die.
No, Iman, that's a point that you bring up, and I love the chemistry you guys are showing, because you guys can just we can just and y'all can talk about this for the rest of the night. But
oh man,
don't let me. Talking about you're an influencer, and you said you never thought of yourself as much of a content creator, and I think I know what those terms mean, but just for our audience, Iman, why don't you give us a brief explanation of what it means to be an influencer, and then maybe Christopher, you can follow that up with you said you're not a content creator. What is that, and why aren't you that? So Iman, why don't you go?
So as an influencer, which is still technically a content creator, because that's what they have to do to be an influencer, you're pretty much influencing someone to do something, whether it's going to the gym, whether and working out, going to a restaurant, trying out new earrings, style, anything like that. That is what you're based in. I just happen to be based in food, so I push restaurants and food and delicious pictures in people's face all the time. And I have to create content for it. So when I say create content, I have to go out and research these restaurants and meet the chefs and go and buy all the different food and take like there's one point a few weeks ago, I ended up going to 5 different restaurants in one day, and I probably tasted like 3 different things. But for the content, I had to go ahead and get those different things and get those photos and make sure I'm angling them right. And then I have to go back and I have to edit all the pictures, and it's a full job. But yeah, that's what an influencer is. We're putting a whole lot of work behind stuff to try to get you to do it.
Christopher?
Yeah, a lot of what you were saying, Iman, pretty much falls in line with my definition of a content creator. For me, it's almost synonymous with an entertainer. You know, in my mind, a content creator is someone who is working to create joy or, you know, to elicit whatever emotion they're trying to get out of their target audience. And, you know, I've never really considered myself that because you know, not to say I'm not listening to the people, you know, and the feedback they give me. I'm not making products for specific people. I'm, you know, not to be cliche, I'm making my dreams come true. You know, I'm making my dream games. I'm making what I want to put into a product and am just putting that out to the world and allowing them to receive it how they will. I think a lot of times when I hear content creator and influencer, I think of people on YouTube who have channels there. I think of Twitch streamers. And, you know, I've talked to a few of them, and a lot of what they talk about is just the struggle to stay relevant, you know, finding out what their audience is into right now, you know, what the important topic point is, what video or topic will actually get clicks and views. And, you know, that's just a concern that I've never really found myself having as a game developer, which is why I see myself kind of separate from that. But, you know, just to end it, it's a hard job. It's a job. And that's why I kind of say, yeah, that's why I'm kind of on the sideline of it right now. So
yeah, but you're creative, so that's what, like, you're good. Keep doing it.
Thank you.
I wish I was that creative.
Yeah, well, you got talents I don't got either, because that social media is a whole nother beast. Yeah.
Whole nother beast.
You know, something that I'm learning is that y'all got talents and y'all talking about stuff way over my head. Like I downloaded TikTok like 2 weeks ago. I still don't know how to like forward things on Instagram, right? And so, but I did love what Christopher said. Christopher said, I'm making my dreams come true. And, you know, people just kind of, if they like the product, then they can enjoy it too. But it's this personal satisfaction of you making your dreams come true. And so, Christopher, let me ask you a question. What was the very first game that you fell in love with?
Oh, wow. The very first game that I fell in love with and couldn't put it down. I think it was this old game called Kingdom Hearts. It came out, I couldn't have been older than maybe 12 years old or so, but it was a game that was tied into the Disney franchise, you know, which was such the appeal. You got to play as a character and basically run through, you know, all the Disney worlds, you know, Aladdin and Hercules and Jungle Book and Winnie the Pooh and all that stuff. And at the time, it was just, wow, I've never seen this type of fusion of culture before, to where all these things that I've, you know, all my favorite movies I've seen growing up, now coupled with what's arguably my favorite medium of entertainment, and just being able to bring that together, like the experiences going through that still resonate with me, you know. And that series, it went on, I think it actually just wrapped up about 1.5 years ago. Ending wasn't the best, but I had a good time going through the journey. But yeah, I think that, you know, those memories that it made for me and that type of impact showed me that, you know, games can, you know, hit you kind of just like a book can, kind of just like a movie can. And, you know, I try and bring that same inspiration to the games that I make to leave impacts to my players.
So, Iman, I'm going to follow that up with why food? Did you just grow up eating? Why did you land on food, and why do you have this love for food? Because as David already said, you know, some of the photos that I see on your site, on your that you post, is absolutely mouthwatering, and I have people just saying, where can I find that? And I guess they have to go to Georgia. So why food?
So food, I love food. I love food. I used to be a huge picky eater. I used to hate trying things, and as I got older, and had to kind of like, I guess, well, no, just as I got older and I wasn't even by myself, just as I met new people and new people were brought into my life, I was introduced to different foods, and I wasn't very nice when it came to trying this stuff, but I eventually fell in love with it. And that, I guess, just was like what my life ended up kind of seeming like it was around. It was just, you know, I meet people through food. I get connections through food. I love talking to people through food. I'm a kind of awkward person, so it's hard for me to have conversations about just anything, but food I can talk about all day. So that was like one thing. And then when it came down to like my peers and people that I went to high school with and people that were following me on Instagram, because I never used to post food. I just used to post myself. And then that's how I like first started with my followers. And then once I started to, you know, show that I was going out or show that I was eating certain things, people would talk to me about it, and they would start to DM me like, hey, what's that? Hey, where did you try that out? Ew, that looks disgusting. Why would you eat that? You know, different things, but it was still conversations. I was like, well, let me put this food out here so people can see it, and I can encourage people to go out and try different things. And so that is really the whole relationship that I started with my followers about 2 years ago, and it's just grown from there, and people just willingly trust me to try who knows what. But it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's a part of it I found interesting. You said earlier that around 60% of your followers are from the same town you're in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's completely separate from me. I hardly know where any of the people I know are or where they're from. And just, have you ever met anybody who follows you out? Have you had these food conversations in real life?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I've met a lot of people that have followed me. I've actually had 2 different events, food events where random people just come. I have people ask me to go out to lunch that I have I've never met them in my life. They're just my follower. And they're like, hey, can we go to lunch one day? I really want to go out with you, or, you know, different things like that. So, it's pretty interesting, but I definitely love it. That's what it's a hard job, but I enjoy, you know, seeing that joy come from people when they try different things, or when we talk about food, or they bring up a food memory or introduce me to something.
So Dave, before you go, let me just share real quick.
Okay.
Christopher, my favorite game of all times is Splinter Cell. I don't know why. Maybe
really?
It's a military game.
Okay.
And it's the same. You can kind of one. I don't even know. Like, I'm talking to a gamer, and I don't know how to describe it. One scene builds on the next scene. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
Why food? And let me say, my favorite food is like American cuisine. But what I really like is I have a love for pastrami. I don't know why. Maybe it's that Keys. Maybe it's that Keys burger, Dave.
Pastrami, you can't beat
What
it.
do you think, Dave?
Yeah, man, I think there's definitely a Keys connection with the pastrami. I'm always on the quest for the great pastrami sandwich. Like I know of 2 that are, you know, I'll drive the distance to go to them. Christopher, you're in the Bay. On the other side of the bridge in Oakland, there used to be a restaurant called Art's Crab Shack. Gentrification, man, it's gone. Anyway,
moment of silence.
I've gotten, you know, back in the day when gas was only $2 a gallon and not 4, I would get in the car at noon.
Hey, it's $2 here.
Rub it in, why don't you? At noon and drive to the Bay Area just to, you know, get me some crab and then turn around and drive home, and it was worth it, you know. So I get the food piece. Video game, you know, I think I just went through so many games. As I got older, it became football and driving. You give me a good Madden game or any game where I can drive. I mean, I remember my wife and I had steering wheels. And we would have driving games, and we would sit there in chairs with TV trays and steering wheels on the top, and we just raced for hours throughout the night. And it was just, you know, when you're young and not a lot of money, you know, you just created entertainment with that. But But no shade on this. I'm showing my generational ignorance with this next one. But Christopher, when I was but a lad, I remember being like 7 or 8 years old, talking about what I'm gonna do, and like I'm gonna go to college and become a race car driver, and crazy stuff like that. And there's some, especially in my age range, that would say to you, so you just graduated college, you went to college to design video games, to make video games? Really?
It's real.
That. And so talk about that for a minute. How's that connection? How did you end up, going to, and maybe again, it could be that that's the way to do it, right? That you go to college to learn how to do that. For me, it just doesn't connect. And I think for a lot of people, maybe it doesn't connect. How did that work out for you?
Well, interestingly enough, that actually wasn't my situation. I didn't go to school to study game development. I actually went to study engineering, which about halfway through school, I got into a job that let me sit down with some programming. And I realized I was in the wrong field. I did not want to be an engineer, and I'm glad that I stopped when I did. But I ended up switching my degree over to computer science. I just kind of fell in love. I found a love for programming. I think my joy was being able to kind of bring things from the mind to reality, have an idea and actually make it work, make it execute, make things happen. But even that, game development didn't come around, I think, until I was in my 3rd year of college. I was visiting a friend of mine in Sacramento, and we were just sitting at a bar one day talking to a friend of a friend. And he was a game developer, and he basically was just asking me, you talk about how cool it would be to do this. You've been playing games your whole life. Why haven't you started? And all these reasons I was coming up with, all the excuses, I don't have the resources or I don't know how. And he was just fighting off every single excuse as I was listing them off. And when I got back home from that trip, I got started. I downloaded a free trial, and I still got the first game I made on my computer. The world will probably never see it, but I'm proud of it. But yeah, it's, for me, game development and college were honestly pretty separate. Even now, game development for me is really, it's my hobby that I'm trying to bring to the forefront, make it more of a real thing for me. But that is something that I've kind of gone back and forth on. It's, people who go to school for game development, I feel like with the same thing as, people who go to school to, to learn to be a writer or to learn to be an actor or any job really, where you're going to be in competition with other people. It's a risk. It's a risk, and it's you may not have a guaranteed job after that degree. And because of that, I've kind of made a bit of a safety net for myself. Like right now, I'm happily employed. I'm a little over part-time. I need to get up to full, but I'm with an employee. I'm with an employer that takes care of me, and I enjoy them. And I don't plan on leaving them to full on pursue game development. If anything, if not for a while. I actually really enjoy being able to work on my games, but also having, a paycheck from a full job that comes in and gives me peace. So, although I don't stand in the way of people who want, to fully, dive into their dreams, I think a lot of times it takes that risk and that leap of faith to make great things happen. I've personally always enjoyed the security. And, someday I'd love to step away from my job and take time to focus exclusively on games. But even if I did that, it wouldn't be until there was sizable money in the bank, because I just, I don't want to get burnt out on my dream because I gave it my all and it didn't work out. So I guess right now you could say I'm giving it about 60% and it's been going pretty well. But yeah, I think having a safety net is helpful, especially when you're in such a creative and competitive field like this. It's hard to put it all in one basket.
That's really, that's that. Iman, you mentioned something earlier as well. You said with being, and you didn't use the word influencer. I'm using that word, but you mentioned with the number of followers, and you said at some point, the money may start rolling in. So in that same, do you see yourself doing this? I mean, I think you do it for the love of food. That's what it sounds like to me.
Well, I get paid also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I get paid right now also. So I get paid for promotion. I get paid to go out and try people's food. I get paid for a number of different things. If just depending on what like contracts I set up, who I talk to, different things like that. But I definitely would like, you know, to be sponsored maybe one day, to set up bigger contracts with people. I would love to just, you know, travel for food, be invited out to different states and parts of the country and, you know, different countries to try out a hotel and try out the food that they have or anything like that. So that's the biggest goal. That's kind of what the big food bloggers and foodies kind of do. They make a lot of money off of that. One thing, I don't know if you guys do know, as an Instagram person, once you reach 10,000 followers on Instagram, that automatically puts you in the position to go ahead and start making money off of promotions or anything like that. So, yep, that's the goal.
So Caleb, all I have to do is pay off like 10,000 more people, and we're gonna be.
Oh man,
I'm not.
nobody.
You can't pay followers. You can't pay for followers.
We're not paying nobody, and we have a long ways to go. It's all right.
We need natural followers.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good. So we like to have fun on the show. We like to have fun. So let's transition a little bit, because, you know, Caleb and I have been knowing each other for 37 going on 38 years. So just a long time. And, you know, just co-sign with me, Caleb. You know, we remember the days of, you know, I'm tired of this job, I'm quitting, and you got a new job tomorrow, right? I mean, the market was just open, and we had one job and 3 jobs and a hustle on the side. And, you know, we were just always chasing the dollar. For our generation, at least our generation where we came from, was really about, you know, we wanted to go to school, but school was a means to make money. Really, you know, it really wasn't about being educated. It was, if you want to make money, you got to go to school. If you want to get a good job, you got to have a degree. And you got to, so we grew up with a different mentality that, you know, it's about putting in a 40-hour plus work week, tying yourself to a desk, building up a retirement, you know, all of those things. And I can see it in your eyes. Both of you are cringing right now.
So you guys are jealous.
Right, because, yeah.
Freedom.
Yeah.
Oh, we're jealous. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a Gen X thing, right? So I would say I'm a Gen X with a baby boomer spirit, right? But that's a Gen X thing, and that's how we define success. The argument and debate that's always between the Gen X and the Gen Y is, you know, you guys don't have that spirit. You guys don't have that same drive. Some would say lazy. I'm not saying lazy. I'm suggesting that on any level. So please don't misconstrue my words. But that tie yourself to a desk, work week, and so forth and so on. Man, I just remembered I wanted to say something at the beginning of this. I'm going to throw it in somewhere. I'm going to get it out. But anyway, let's talk about that for a minute, because, you know, my definition of success has changed over the years, as is yours, Caleb, I'm sure. But I still came up through a generation that emphasized the more you work, the more successful you'll be. The more you tie yourself to this and long hours and hard work and blood, sweat, and tears and build a legacy and so forth and so on. And we know that's different for your generation. So talk about that. How does success look for you and yours? Either one of you.
Well, I think it's definitely different. I think a different definition of success was established at an early age, you know, whether that was what I was seeing in school or whether that was my parents. I'm not necessarily certain. But for me, at least, success has never been tied to a dollar sign. You know, I think that a lot of that same drive to get a good job and be able to take care of yourself is still there, but it's never been, you know, let me get, you know, the money, as many jobs as I can, push past 40 hours a work week. For me, it's been, let me get enough to survive, you know, to take care of myself, to make sure I have a roof, you know, and some food with me. But, you know, at least myself, I've never, you know, personally been driven to chase wealth. And I think a lot of that, if I had to guess, I think a lot of traits just skip generations. And I think that comes from growing up in a household where you see parents striving so much for something that you may not want. So you swing in the complete opposite direction. Like I like to say, my grandmama, she makes sweet tea so sweet it'll make your teeth wiggle. And I love it. Me and my cousins love it. It's so good. My mom and her sister, she hates it. They can't stand that tea. You know, they grew up in the house with that. And I think that was kind of my case. I grew up with, you know, very hardworking parents. I remember my dad told me once, you know, by the time he was my age, he had 18 jobs already, and I was in high school. And, you know, I think I was just starting my first one, you know, at the time. And same with my mother. She went into business for herself. And so I've seen her working, you know, far past the 40-hour work week, working weekends, up at, you know, 4 a.m, getting ready for things. And, you know, not as a disrespect to all the work that she'd done. You know, I'd always admired it and especially been grateful for what that meant for me. I saw that life and never wanted it. You know, I never wanted a job that I had to dedicate more than 40 hours a week to. I wanted to be able to come home and be there for dinner every night. And I think, you know, just how I was raised in my household made me swing to the opposite side. And, you know, I imagine it's similar for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. I hear that. I mean, I know from me personally, but also I hear that from tons of people. Like they saw their parents, you know, just breaking their back and going to a job that they honestly hated, and it was like kind of miserable to them. It really didn't make them happy. Maybe they were happy during their job, but like it didn't make them happy for real. And they didn't get to take many vacations, and you know how America's business world is. So that I can say definitely has, as of recently, made me kind of step away from the regular 9-to-5 venture of success. I've actually had more than 20 jobs in my life. So I have done that part. And it was pretty miserable. I wasn't really happy. It was like, you know, trying to figure out like, oh, I can do this job. I could see myself creating a career out of this. Like I've worked for the state. I've worked a lot of, but everybody I worked with was so miserable. They were so unhappy and they weren't doing anything that they were passionate about. And I think that that's kind of the beautiful thing of our generation is, unfortunately, we are a little bit spoiled and we are able to do other things because we have technology, social media, things that our parents, you know, unfortunately didn't have, but they paved the way for us so that we would have an easier time trying to make success, I guess, somewhat. But that was the question. Me, success is just like you, I guess. I want to be happy. I want to live comfortable. It's not really a money point. Of course, there's a lot of things that I would love to have. I would love to have a Shelby Mustang and a huge kitchen and a pool in my backyard. But you know, if that doesn't come, I'm okay with it. I just want to be comfortable, be able to provide for myself and my family, and be happy. That's it. Yeah.
You know, I heard a lot of things in what you guys shared. The first thing I heard is that Christopher's grandmother made some bomb. I mean, made your teeth wiggle. I think he said made your teeth wiggle. And, you know, I started thinking about some sweet tea, man. It's been a long time since I put some tea bags in some water and just dumped the whole bag of sugar in and enjoyed it. So, you know, tomorrow I might be doing that. And the way that the both of you have described your views as a generation Y, I'm kind of jealous. Like I'm kind of jealous a little bit because I have that 40-hour work week, right? And you know, I like my job, but you know, I don't know if I love my job, right? And you guys are doing stuff that you love, right? And so I'm a little envious of what you guys just shared. And it might be reason for me being a Generation X. And by the way, David is a little older than me, so he's a baby boomer.
Baby boomer.
He might be a baby boomer. He might be a baby boomer. Yeah, as a Generation X, I'm kind of thinking that we are a little bit too rough on the Y generation. So I'll ask this: what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys are faced with adulting? What are some of the biggest challenges that you face with adulting? Because, you know, you guys are still in your 20s and you guys are trying to, you guys are employed. You Christopher, you just graduated. You just graduated from college. Iman said that she wants that Shelby Mustang, and what are some of the biggest challenges that you find?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones I've seen, I was actually doing a little bit of research on generations before we started here. And one of the things that they said was that a lot of times we think of generations as an age range, you know, specifically the age of the people that are in it. But a lot of times it's also tied to kind of a life period. That like my generation, trying to remember, I think it was Gen Y. Yeah, right now, all people in Gen Y just got out of school, or all of them are just now starting in school in that area of college. And what that did was, while I was in there, it was kind of an area where I was surrounded by only my generation. You know, of course, I had my professors, you know, I had my job, but other than that, everybody I'm interacting with is only of my generation. And, you know, it's kind of like that, you know, growing up too, you know, in high school and elementary school, everybody is the same age as you. And now that I'm outside of that gate, I find myself, you know, the younger generation, almost like a newcomer in a world that's still being ran by your generation. And, you know, I see that at my job, especially where I'm the youngest person by at least a decade. And, you know, it hasn't been a particularly rough, you know, changing experience. I feel like I've gotten a lot of preparation, you know, just for paying bills. You know, I guess that's the most consistent new part of it. But it's just, it feels like adapting to living in someone else's world, you know, and there's a lot of rules to learn. You couple that with, you know, the awareness that you are, you know, in a sense, the future, so you can bring in your changes as well. But it's kind of like learning to play ball with a whole new set of rules. And, you know, it's real.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. If I had to throw anything else in there, I think that, well, I don't know if this is what you were saying, but I'll say it for me personally. I do not like working with older people because they're really rough on us, like really, really rough on us. They're not nice, especially if they feel like you're coming to take their position or anything like that. They talk down on us a lot, especially if we do have like a side hustle or something and we're not completely just 9 to 5 type thing. They don't really respect anything that we're doing. Not saying all, but a lot don't respect like some of the new things that we're coming up with, and that kind of sucks as an adult. But other than that, you know, it's just live and learn experiences and just go from there.
If I can say
when I was 20, I thought 35, 40 was old. So when you say old people, are you talking 50, 60, or are you talking 35, 40?
Yeah, really the latter. You know, at least for me, it's not even that much older. You know, most of the people I work with are in their late 30s. And, you know, I was just going to say that I don't see so much disrespect from them. I think the harder part is I just have a hard time connecting. You know, started heading to happy hours and, you know, after work events and just, what do we talk about? Sometimes it's hard to land on a good conversation topic when you've got, you know, a 10 plus age year gap in between you.
Yeah. And I'll say like 40 is when it pretty much gets bad. That the 35 to 39-year-olds, they're kind of more trying to connect with us in an awkward way, and it's still just awkward. And yeah, all bad. But hey. So
I have two things for you guys. One, click, this conversation's over. No.
You hung up on them.
No, I think it was just yesterday. So I'll be 50 in a couple months. And
you're old. A boomer.
Whoa.
We didn't realize we had older people in the group.
Right.
Oh, no. My bad.
I was talking to my staff yesterday, and you know, the 3 people in the room, one was like 35, the other just turned 32, the other one's 22. And I'm listening to their conversation, and they're talking to me, and I'm talking to them. And I just start laughing. And they're like, David, what's so funny? It's like, I used to be the 23-year-old IT guy, right? With my suit on, my 2 pagers and a cell phone and a whole bunch of keys. And I just knew I was all that. And when I heard from anyone who was 40, I was like, you just old. You don't understand anything that's going on. You just stick to your lane, because I probably make more money than you. and blah, blah, blah. I was a mess, right? And so now at 49, looking at these conversations, I just shake my head because I'm like, I've turned into that guy, right? Where I try to listen and try to understand, but even if they invite me to happy hour, and this kind of goes to something you were saying, Christopher, it's more of a courtesy, right? We know you hear us talking about happy hour and you're cool enough. So, hey, this is where we're going to be. Now, if I didn't show up, they wouldn't care. When I do show up, I have one drink. I pay for the round for everyone.
Oh, wow.
I leave,
Really?
right? And it's just my standard go. And I think that's why they invite me. Dave's going to cover this first round because he don't really want to be here, but he'll come. So
I'd invite you too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I go to that first round and I walk out of there $120, $130 light for one drink, right? And again, it doesn't happen often. I'm happy to do it because it keeps me close enough involved to where I feel like they don't mind me being there, even if it is just to get a free first round. But like you said, Christopher, I don't know what to talk about with them. I don't. The things they're interested in don't interest me.
Sports.
Or I mean, we can go there on sports, but ain't no sports playing right now, right? And, like, even we talk about movies, they're on a whole different level than why I appreciate movies. If we talk about, I want to talk about A Tribe Called Quest. They say A Tribe Called who? Right? Again, it's just different. And you know, their skin hue is a little different as well. So, you know, it goes back to that. But so that's my first thing. Yeah, this conversation is different. Christopher, you mentioned it as, no, Iman, you said you feel like there's a lack of respect for who you are and what you do. Do you feel like you're coming into a situation with your fists up because it's going to be there? Or is it just you actually walk in the door ready to receive joy, friendship, happiness, bonding, whatever the adjective is, but you find that, you know, you're categorized? Or how is the situation for you, especially?
Honestly, I'm a pretty nice person, especially when it comes to work life. I'm a very nice person because I'm getting paid. So that you know, they're kind of just like, hey, what do you do? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a food influencer. Or they'll see me taking pictures or something, and they're like, oh, you're one of those people who just takes pictures of your food. I'm just like, yeah, I have this many followers, you know, 5,000 followers. They're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I just did this. It's pretty cool. I get invited out to try out. They're just like, oh, that's nice, you know, whatever. And I guess, I don't know, for someone my age or like, you know, people who are around me, they're like, wow, that's really great. You know, they support me, they encourage me, you know, different things like that. I don't really get that, you know, from especially the people that I was involved with at work. That didn't happen very often.
See, that's exactly what it is. I think a lot of times it just feels like a one-sided fight. Like you're walking into a room where you have a lot of people who are already prepared to look at you as a child. And, you know, they're going to say what they want to say regardless, you know, and unfortunately, a lot of the times, you know, the people that you're dealing with have a little bit of power over you. Might be your supervisor, might be your boss. So a lot of times if you want that job, you just kind of got to sit there.
Just sit there and smile.
Smile, you know, exactly. You know, it's not like I can pick and choose at the decisions you've made. It won't go well for me and my job. But it's really does kind of feel like, you know, it's a fight. You just got to kind of sit there and take it. And that gets
I had this one situation where I tried to help out an older guy. I'll say that he was in his 40s and he was trying to start up like a food truck type thing. I was like, okay, I'll help you out. I'll help you, you know, build your brand and everything and go from there. He didn't want to listen to me, you know, even though he approached me and he was like, can you help me with this? I know that you deal with the food. Once I told him everything that went into it, and I was kind of trying to stay on him on the schedule and, you know, posting stuff and gaining followers and everything, he didn't want to listen. And then it kind of just blew up. I lost relationships off of it, like it really hurt my brand. Actually, it really hurt my brand. And these were like relationships with different chefs that I was building up over like a year. And he came in and said one thing and everything went a different way. And when I told him, and I was very upset, like, hey, this is my brand. This is something I've been working on and really building. And this is something I plan to have a future with. Like, how could you do this? Like, I need you to respect what I'm doing. Exactly. He didn't care. It was just like, whatever, whatever. You'll get over it. It's fine. It's not that deep. I'm like, it is. I'm still repairing these relationships 6 months later. It's pretty much there, but okay.
Yeah. David said that at the onset that this conversation will probably be educational. And I've learned a lot. I think that maybe I need to reconsider the way that I think about Generation Y, because you guys are aliens. You guys aren't even from this planet. You guys don't even think the same way that me and Dave thought when we were growing up. So tell me this: what would you like older generations or other people to know about you or to accept about your generation? Christopher.
Okay. If I could sum it up real clean, I think it's just how can you expect someone to act like an adult if you treat them like a child? And, there's a lot of people, who just, like we said before, are automatically ready to put you into that child bin, sit you at the kid table. And I feel like having, been on the other side of college or whatever, education you have, if you're in the real world, if you're in the workforce, we're all at least on a similar playing field. And, the same respect you'd extend your coworker, don't change it just because you may have a decade on them. And, I think that could go a whole long way.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow. I would say that, the world is changing. Just like the generation before us, the world was changing for you guys, and you guys were kind of just adapting and going with it. We're trying to do the same thing, and we're also trying to make it a better place at the same time. So, just kind of go easy on us. Just try to understand what we're trying to do and what all is involved in what we have to do more.
Dave, I was sitting at the light and I heard a car pounding, and it was turned all the way up, right? And I'm thinking, my children are in the car, and I'm thinking, who's coming next? And so this guy on the side of his car, it says "too bad." It's too loud, too bad, right? And I'm thinking, that used to be us. But here I am, I'm hearing the car come a mile away, and now I'm already cringing and kind of off guard now, right? Concerned about, what lyrics might be heard out of the window, and my children might hear and pick up, and then they repeating it, right? But that used to be us. So, maybe we need to rethink this, man, because I don't want to be that generation that thought rock and roll was the devil's music, and then it was hip hop was the devil's music, right? And so maybe we need to really take a step back and show Generation Y a little bit more respect. What you think?
I definitely agree with that. I think as a whole people group, Generation X needs to really cut Generation Y some slack, right? And it's not because they're not achieving, because a lot of them are. It's not because they didn't meet our goals, because a lot of them did, but the world for them is so different. And just like the world for us was so different than what it was for our parents. And we have to realize that you are going to grow up being a product of your environment, and you're going to become the outcome of that. And so as your environment changes, so do you. Perfect example, as you and I were coming up, our parents gave us just enough, right? A lot of what we went through with schools because we pushed ourselves. A lot of our choices to go to college because that's what we wanted to do. How we paid for it was loans, grace of God, this job, that job, the next. And I swore, now again, Christopher and Iman, by the time we were your age, we had children, right? And so it was really about, there was a fear for the future. I need to be able to do this because my children need to eat. I need to be able to provide an existence. And coming from where we came from, I opened it. We didn't really realize at a young age we were in the inner city. But as we became working class, we saw that environment around us. And it became, how can I make my life better so my children never have to experience this? And I think if we're going to be fair about that, then we have to realize that potentially a lot of the reasons that we have previously looked down on the next generation is because of the environment we have set up for them.
Correct.
Right. And as Christopher said, he's thankful of his parents that worked hard and allowed, and the benefit he received from it. I think we as a generation have to take that into account. I know many a day I walked away from a meeting and be like, these damn millennials, they just don't get it, right? But I think we created those millennials in the environment for them, right? Now, here's the question. All of that is just a setup. It's always a setup. As I said, when we were your age, we had children, and it was about, how do we make it to the next day? How do we survive and make sure they survive? What do we have to give up to make sure they have? Does your generation, and maybe you're not even going to be the spokesman, as Christopher and Iman, do you have fear for the future? Do you worry about whether you're going to be able to make it, or what does your outlook look like for that?
Like, for my kids and everything.
Whatever.
Like,
your kids
for my future. Yeah, no, I definitely feel like I'm gonna be able to make it. Once again, I feel like our generation is spoiled. There's so many different ways for us to set a solid foundation for ourselves, whether it's through social media, whether it's through investing, whether it's creating a business or creating a product and selling it, or just going and getting a job. There's a lot of different options for us, and I personally feel pretty confident about my plan. So I think I'm good. Christopher?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I've been all around the block in how I feel about the future. I think personally for myself, I share that with you, Iman. I'm grateful that I have a long-term goal. I've got some plans financially, and just in terms of taking care of myself. I'm not worried about the future, and I'm not ready for kids by any stretch of the word, but I've always had them in mind. And so, when the time comes, at least with some money, I'd like to think I'd be at least semi-prepared, to have them. But I think a lot more what it is for me is there's fear of the world. There's, not so much fear of change. Change is real. You just got to accept that. Fear of, things getting worse. It's no surprise where we're at right now. I, kind of jokingly, but kind of with a real sense, I've been treating, everything that's going on with George Floyd. It's, it's like our generation's Rodney King riots. People are tearing up streets and just, and it's a trip. Because actually, you said it, David, for a second, just that you guys existed in that you guys also had that fear for the future. And, that was never really a consideration for me. I think I've read articles about just a lot of our generation is in fear, and that makes people not want to have kids. They don't want to bring children into the world. I'm not there yet. I still really desire that. And I think, that we can push through that. But to hear that your generation took that fear and instead of, let's not have these kids, let's, work even harder so we can make sure they're going to be okay when they get here. I really feel like that's a generational difference. That's how, the difference between how you guys are raised versus us.
Yeah, I feel like our generation is more like, our kids are going to be here, but we're going to change the world to make it a better place for them as they're here, especially, my friends of mine, they're like, hey, we're just going to push for whatever we can, and we're going to give them the best that we can right now. And, love, caring, keep them clothed and fed and give them vacations and all the love that, I don't know, I saw it with my parents growing up. I see it with like my generation now, as far as how they treat their kids. I'm excited for it. And as far as like everything going on right now, I think that I feel like there's change that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's slow. And I feel like some things are kind of games that people are playing with us as far as the movement, but a lot of things are happening, and I'm excited for it actually when it comes to the future, because a lot of things are being brought to the light that I grew up with, and I always felt like, why are we dealing with this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, why do we have to put up with this?
Yeah, people are fighting, and I feel like there's always going to be fear, or at least, maybe a bleak look, but people are fighting it. As long as we can do that, we can keep moving forward.
Something that I've been hearing a lot is that, this is not our fight to carry from an older generation. The youth is what is going to move this change forward. The youth have to go out there and vote. The youth have to change our government and our policies. The youth have to be the mouthpiece and the energy that is going to reform. I think that's a lot of weight that is being placed on you guys, because it's not like old cats like me and Dave are gone. Like you guys said, in your Christopher, you said that in your job, there's older people that are running the shop, right? And Iman, you said that you had issues with the older people that was the supervising you or placed over you.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not gone, but we've already kind of handed it off to you guys and say, okay, well, it's your job to fix it. I think that's a little unfair. Dave, do you think that? Do you feel that same way?
Absolutely. I think that a lot of us feel, and Christopher, you mentioned it, that our generation was the Rodney King riots. Our parents' generation was the Martin Luther King riots in 65 through 68 and so forth. And so it's a continual cycle that just keeps going. But I do think a lot of our generation has said, hey, we fought this fight. We're tired. You guys are young. You got strong backs. You got energy. You need to go fight it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're expecting you to fight it in the way we did. Right. And I think that's the unfair part, that even if you guys took up the mantle and said, hey, this is what we're going to do, perhaps it's done differently. Right. And again, our parents did it differently than what we did. And the next generation is going to, and it just has to evolve. I think if there's a lesson for any of us, especially our generation, is to, again, realize the environment for Y looks a lot different than Gen X, looks a lot different than Baby Boomer. And one thing that no one's going to argue with is that all of us are products of our environment. No matter. So that's a good transition point. We have now, in the words of Digital Underground, reached the 3.5-minute mark of this song, and radio stations can begin your fade here. So I don't know where this is going to go, but I would like you two to start first. From the earliest time you can remember until now, what's your favorite memory?
Okay. Can we get a to be continued on that? Let me.
That's a tough one, Dave. I mean, favorite memory of all time. I thought like you're gonna ask them a favorite memory from the job, favorite memory with their folks or something.
I have something. So my friends, they always kind of say that I cheat with my memories, because my dad, he kind of like used to record me, and he used to take a lot of pictures. So I'm kind of confused on if those are my actual memories or if I'm just remembering the video. But I remember those, like my dad had this one video of a couple of videos of me just like kind of in his townhouse when I was growing up, like watching TV, a lot of videos watching TV. I love TV, I love movies and stuff. I think all of the early memories that I have, like Christmas, Thanksgiving, those are the things I would kind of hold on to right now, I guess. Like for the most part, movies, like the stuff that I love, food, all of that, family.
Yeah, no, I think I got one, and it's pretty much all three of those.
Yeah.
I don't remember the specific day, but I remember what me and my family used to do. When I was growing up, we had this, I had like a scorecard for school. And, you know, I had a good week. I got good grades. I got some points. And, you know, it was like Chuck E. Cheese, but at home. I could cash them in for whatever I wanted. And I think the biggest, most expensive thing I could get was just a movie night. It was a Friday night movie night. You know, I could pick whatever we wanted to watch. We, at one point, I finally saved up enough money to do it. And my parents showed out. They pulled all the cushions off the couch. They called in my favorite food, probably had pizza. We had all the TV trays out.
Oh, yeah.
I might be remembering wrong, but I think we watched a couple episodes of Jimmy Neutron that night, which just never get played on the living room TV. And those are some real good times back then. I missed that scorecard.
I think TV definitely had a lot of memories around that.
TV and food. Amen.
Oh, yeah. Especially SpongeBob. And Space Jam.
Woo!
Space Jam. Oh my gosh. Yeah. When Space Jam came out, my dad got the soundtrack, and we used to play it all the time. Oh, that was like the best. Definitely remember those.
Yeah, I went as Bugs in costume last year for Halloween.
Wow, you had the full
big old cat to be going as Bugs Bunny for Halloween.
That's crazy.
You know what? Y'all hold on right here.
Santa was a big old Russian. It was something Guardians of not Guardians of the Galaxy, but anyway, the Easter Bunny was this just big. That was.
I love that movie.
What's it called? Guardians or something about Guardians.
Yeah.
I can't help y'all. I can't help either one of y'all. And Christopher.
Rise of the Guardians.
Rise of the Guardians. That was it.
You have to watch it. That's like one of the best Christmas movies that they came out with. I love that.
Y'all think I'm joking.
Oh, yeah. That's nice, man.
Got it right.
Oh, wow.
It looked like an official jersey, too.
That's cool.
All right, Kate, what's your favorite memory, man?
Oh, man, I have so many favorite memories. But I think that some of my favorite memories is like combing like my daughter's hair into an Afro puff, right? Or singing what's her name, Lauryn Hill song, and turning the words in from Zion to my daughter's name, man. And so that was some of the best things. And my daughter would listen, and she would say, because I would try to sing over Lauren, Dave, I got that good singing voice, right? Yeah. So I would try to sing over Lauren. You want me to do it?
Yeah, go ahead, do it, man.
No, I can't do it.
Big task.
Yes, man, go ahead.
But yeah, man, I would sing over, but my daughter would listen, and she was probably about 5 or 6, and she was like, "Is she singing my name, right?" And so I would just be full of joy, but just listening to her and watching her reaction to that. How about your favorite memory?
Man, like you said, I got so many. I have 3 sons. The birth of the first one made me a dad. So that's always going to be special to me. And they're all special. I don't love either one more than the next. I think they're all great on their own. But I shared this story with you a couple of weeks ago. So my oldest, I was taking him to school one day, and it's my car. We listen to what I want to listen to, and I had some Tribe Called Quest in, man. And to my knowledge, he was in the music like the Jonas Brothers and stuff that I had no idea what he was listening to. And, Tribe Called Quest came on, and, again, I'm in the car. You know how we did it, man. I mean, like, I put my knee on the wheel to keep it straight, and I'm rapping, and I got the mic up, and I'm doing the thing. And the chorus came around, and I'm about to take my deep breath for the second verse, and he came in right over the top and was just at it with the same energy I was. And couldn't see. My eyes was teared up. I was like, man, what can I do for you? You need some money? You need me right here. Can we go to the store? It was just one of them moments that I can go on and on about different bonding moments I had with my oldest, but that memory it was an introduction that, wow, he likes the music I do, and it changed the playlist forever in the car. And to this day, we still, have our moments where we just get to rhyming and get to taking it back. So, we asked that because memories are important, obviously. And, there's one thing that we didn't get to share through this entire podcast. I think any of us can share it. So who wants to do it?
Boy.
I think everybody.
Oh, I want to.
So,
I have something to say.
Whoever wants to share it, go ahead, and we'll just chime open from there. Iman,
Right, this is gonna sound so weird coming out, but David and Caleb, I would go to the bar with them anytime because they are the best father and godfather I could ever ask for, and they are not old guys. They don't have terrible conversation. I would work with them any day because they're great, not regular.
Trying to clean it up, man. She's trying to.
No, I was thinking that the whole time, but I was like, no, I can't say it. When he was bringing up going to the happy hour with his coworkers, I'm like, what? They don't like my godfather? But you guys using my godfather for drinks?
No. Christopher, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I guess we went ahead and broke that ice, but the dude who Mr. Smith over here was getting those raps in with was me. If anything we said today looks like it hit Mr. Smith and Mr. Bay a little hard, it's because we are the youngins over here, and so yeah, sorry.
Provided all the gray hairs.
I'll be over there at your 40th with a big old slice of cake, and I'm sorry. So y'all good.
50th.
Mm-hmm. He was trying to help you out.
Right. Yeah, he sold himself out. I tried.
I lose 10, you lose 10, and we're not starting over again. So.
I wanted to ask, so Christopher, is it your Twitter handle?
Yeah, I was gonna ask yours as well. Let's get this shameless self-plug.
So my IG name and Twitter handle is ImanAshanti, and then my hashtag is I'm just here to make you hungry.
Oh, I like that. There we go. I'm just here to make you hungry. Okay.
Yeah. That's what my daddy was like, your tag. I'm like, okay, is it a hashtag or is it his actual Twitter name? But okay, got it.
Check that out then.
Educate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. And y'all can find me over at SmithManC. That's on Twitter. Like my line says, I make games. Clean, simple, well perfected. But
got it.
Come check us out.
You guys really, you blessed me tonight. Honestly, you shared some things that I didn't know. Honestly, from a generational stance, and just even hearing your relation to your generation and how you look at the world and how you see adulting and so forth. I'm all warm inside. And when Caleb mentioned, maybe we should look at it a little differently, I think it's important, and that we do, because these are our children, right? And they're far from kids, right? They'll always be our kids, but they're young adults. And we created this environment for them, and so the best thing we can possibly do and extend to others is to respect the journey that they're on and give them room to take that journey.
You guys don't have to love our music.
Yeah.
At all.
Good.
I'll say this: we don't love your music. Since you asked, because we're going to be wrapping it up, but since you mentioned it, what you listening to these days, Iman?
Oh my gosh.
Not the whole list. Just what were you listening to that stuck in your head today?
Future, Lil Baby. Future and Lil Baby.
Okay.
And the Baby.
I don't even know who that is. I'm gonna be very rude.
Right. Megan Thee Stallion.
I gotta check Lil Baby. Oh, I just heard about Megan Thee Stallion. I just started watching some of her music videos. She got talent.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're watching her music videos, huh?
Mm-hmm. Music too, but she got talent.
She got a huge future in front of her. I actually just heard of Megan this weekend.
What you listening to?
Oh yeah, so I switched. I've been on a jazz bump as of late. I've been all over this group, Bad Bad Not Good. They got this song Time Moves Slow, and I can't put it down. I was gonna say y'all can't talk too much smack. I was over there putting my dad onto them just a few weeks ago. I
Oh
think he got a
man.
vinyl of some of their music, and he can't talk like he wasn't enjoying it. So
All right. Make me look bad, why don't you?
oh yeah. Well, I'll send Caleb a vinyl too.
Yeah, please do. Dave, you know what, man? I feel like you always listening to some hip hop, and here I am, still with some R&B, man.
Woo.
I was listening to some Sade. Is It a Crime, man? And you want me to sing it? Because I'm ready to sing it today.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm your daughter now, so I can say no.
You know, I'll say this. Iman, I have a lot of wonderful memories, right? Combing your hair into Afro puffs is one of them. I love that. I love you staring into the television and me trying to get your attention, and you just being lost there. I love how when you moved to Atlanta, and I would try to end phone calls and say, okay, you hang up. And you would say, no, you hang up. And you would just never hang up. So we would just stay on the line. And then eventually, I just got tired. I hung up on you. Right? but you would never hang up before me. And I will never forget that. Dave?
I want to wrap this up, and I'll wrap it up with this, just to kind of close out. What I heard, you guys mentioned Megan Thee Stallion. I just heard that song for the first time this weekend.
Which one?
Savage.
Oh, okay.
And I was bumping a little bit. And my kids were like, "Dad, stop!" Your little brothers were like, "Dad, stop!" Because they had heard it months ago, whenever it came out.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that was out. But anyway, right after that song went off, I Can't Breathe by her, HER, came on. And
yeah.
And I just, it's kind of Jill Scottish, R&B, neo soul, kind of just a rhythmic flow. And I caught the very end, and it stopped my entire activity for what I was doing, and to the point where I had to do it again. And I just want to share that last part. And there's so much of it I could share, but I really want to wrap this up. And it basically just says, to say all men are created equal in the eyes of God, but disparage a man based on the color of his skin. Do not say that you do not see color. When you see us, see us.
Yeah.
And that just resonated with me. I think each of us have mentioned, just where we are in this world with, post George Floyd, with Black Lives Matter, with whose job it is to carry on the fight into the next generation. And what I will say, and it's something I've been saying all along, is we all have to do our part. And Caleb, you and I, as individuals, as well as members of Gen X, we have to respect the choices that Gen Y makes, and understand that the reason they make those choices is because of the environment they're in. And we all have to use our voice in whatever way we do it. Iman, I think you're excellent at that. I see your posts, I see your activity. And
sign a petition.
You're using your voice to just really shine light into food. And that's an amazing platform. Christopher, I think I mentioned your tagline because I'm so impressed with it. It says so much and it says so little. That my name's Christopher and I make games.
Yeah.
There's just not much more. You said you wanted to keep it simple. You said keep it simple. So I want to keep it simple, but it's phenomenal in its simplicity because it says everything you want to say. And I think that's a lesson for us all, that whatever you do it and do it to the full, and make sure that in all of it. And this is something that you and I didn't learn, Caleb. We chased $1. But our presence may have not been known, which is different from us today, right? Now, the dollar's there. It's more about, let's make sure we're leaving an impact, make sure we're doing what we need to so that somebody benefits from us being here.
Right.
That's kind of where I want to leave this tonight. Well, you guys have been a part of Brothers from the 818. We promise you real and honest conversation. Tonight we did that thing, Caleb. I like how we saved it to the end to mention that these were our offspring. Christopher, you said something about David. I didn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, what?
Like, hey, how much do we want to preserve the mystery?
But you can, if you have an idea for a topic you want us to address, you can reach us at brothersfromthe818@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Instagram at Brothers from the 818. We're on Twitter at 818 Brothers. We're on YouTube. You're watching us now, and we're streaming on most audio streaming channels, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, and the like. We enjoyed this time with you. We promise you raw and real conversation. You guys let us know what you want to talk about. We'll keep showing up. To all of you Gen Ys out there, you do your thing. If you think about horse racing, horses are able to do what they need to do because they put on blinders and they can't see what else is happening. They run their race. And y'all keep running your race because that's the only way for you to find success. And I think that's different. Caleb and I, we ran somebody else's race and we were chasing a different dream. But for you guys to be successful, I truly believe you need to run your own race. Y'all be blessed. We'll see you next week. Peace out.